So I read somewhere I read it few days back only. Ideas are diamond dozen. What actually differentiates is the execution.
Yeah.
So I totally agree that you might have a $1 billion idea, but it will still remain as an idea unless or until you are actually working on it. There are two industries which I purely think will be the future. One is Web3, which involves everything on blockchain, metaverse, NFT, all of this.
Yeah.
This is surely the next big thing that is coming.
So, as we all know, we are in the era of entrepreneurship, where every fourth student want to be an entrepreneur. But just imagining all the thing inside their mind and like in their creative world, it's not actually real. Like implementation is one of the major part. So, today we have Mr. J. Chachra with us, who is founder of Just Charge and PETIT, as well as he is a great innovator, and he will be giving his great insights on how to be a great entrepreneur. So, Bhaiya, like I would like to ask you one question: how you started your journey in the field of innovation?
So first of all, thank you Atul and thank you IEEE for having me here, right? And you asked such a beautiful question like how I started and what exactly happened. So if I'm not wrong, it was back in 2015 when I was in class 10th. So although I was very inquisitive child, like I had that curiosity to find what exactly is happening around me, why things existed this way, not the other way. So since then, I had faced few problems, and there was one small incident that happened in my life, due to which I asked myself why this society exists, and why what are we going to do with that?
Okay.
So since then, I was working on some accidental saver kit, and at the age of 16, I got my first innovator kind of that award from
Yeah.
IIT Guwahati. So the award it actually boosted me up a lot, because for a 11th 12th standard student to get innovator award at the age of 16 15 is a lot more, right? So I feel my journey was started back then only, and I formalized it when I came into Chandigarh University, and then started working on all the jargons, what we call as patents, what we call as research papers. So I got to know about all of this in Chandigarh University. Before that, I was doing all of this, but didn't know how to proceed further. So yeah, that was it. Like I always wanted to be someone who can actually create an impact, someone who can be a change maker.
Like that's really insightful. You really started in very early age in the 10th class itself. Like as much I remember in 10th class I was just worried about boards. How to score good
So,
marks.
but it's all about the personal choices as well.
Yeah.
I have seen people who have not started early in their life, but they are still very good at what they are doing.
Yeah.
So the age is just a number, not any specimen to actually know who is doing better.
Yeah, that's true. But I would like to ask one thing. Like what was your very first patent which actually gave you this boost?
So it was the accidental saver kit. What I developed was a kit which can be installed in any four-wheeler, which had few parameters like if anybody is drink and driving, the car will automatically sense that with the sensors that we have put in, and will stop the speed limit. And there was few other examples like how well a person is driving the car. So it was all the basis of analysis that we drew, like the AI/ML part.
Okay.
So it was sort of that.
So do you like to give any insight about like what type of AML or what vehicle to vehicle conversation you added in your kit?
So my kit was basically based upon how well the user is driving the car first. Second, all the data based upon the number of days the driver has driven the car. For example, if you are driving that car, the device will first automatically sense how well you are driving for another 30 days. Based upon the parameters you set for 30 days, your device will automatically learn and will specify what exactly how well you are driving it and what can be the basis of driving.
That's really great. But like I also want to aspire the entrepreneurship. Like I have some ideas, but my basic question is how to start. Like basically I know this is my idea. I can develop my product as well. But for developing the product, obviously we need some support. So like how to get that support in terms of financial and even in terms of trust, because that's the main matter.
Okay. So what I can get is there are two major questions that I also have gone through, and I believe most of you will be going through it.
Yeah.
So if I talk about first the financial support, I believe it's a kind of a myth that we are going forward with. Like we all had that myth कि यार मुझे funding मिलेगी तभी मैं आगे बढ़ पाऊंगा, right? So it's a kind of a myth that without funding you cannot move any further. I feel bootstrapping can be another big changing game. I get it, like there are very capital intensive businesses like automobile, there are other like aerospace. It's all very capital intensive, right? But for that you can move forward with your idea. You can at least build something like very basic prototype or very basic MVP, which can be, you know, researched and which can be put forward to different people. So when I talk about different people, I usually mean different institutes like angel investing. Like there are people who are angel investors, right? Who invest in startups, right? So that can be one of that part. Another one is venture capital. Venture capital firms actually put in a huge amount of money in different domains, different specimens, right? And then when I talk about different events, so there are different entrepreneurship events, there are different innovation events. Participate in them, at least build that awareness. Like when you go into 4 or 5 events, if I talk about North India, right?
Yeah.
So all the circle of North India is basically connected, right? So if you start going to different events, multiple events regularly, so people will start knowing you. People will actually understand that I've seen this person. Even if your idea is not that good, or even if they are not investing, they're actually knowing you. So you are actually building your personal brand. You are actually building your face value. So I believe rather than focusing on funding at the very first initial point, focus on how at the basic level you can build that prototype, how well you can define that, and how well you can actually make awareness of that product.
Okay. But like during their, many students have question, if we go into any event and like tell them about our idea, it might get stolen.
Okay. So I read somewhere, like I read it few days back only. Ideas are diamond dozen. What actually differentiates is the execution.
Yeah.
So I totally agree that you might have $1 billion idea, but it will still remain as an idea unless or until you are actually working on it.
Yeah.
So you have to define it. Like I totally agree on that. Like if I have an idea, you might take it, but the execution will actually define it. That idea might remain idea to me, but if you are able to execute it, I cannot blame you on that.
Yeah, that's even true. And even one of the point, I think India is the country of 130 crore people.
Absolutely. And I feel in India there are very great minds, right?
Yeah.
And usually I've seen people working on different ideas, and when they talk about their ideas, it actually co-aligns. So you cannot stop anybody thinking in the same direction or moving forward with your vision, right? So I believe it's all right. If unless or until you are, it's about purely cheating, and it's about the ethics that you are building in, right? So if you feel that ethically you are right and the other person you trust or can be ethically right, move forward with it.
Okay. And according to you, what should be the very first step if I have the idea? Let's take an example. I have a software based idea.
Okay.
And I want to bring it into the market.
Okay.
So what should be my very first step?
See, so from my experiences, what I've learned is you need 2 basic departments in your team or in your company, whatever you say, whatever you call. One is the development team, another one is the marketing team.
Okay.
You have to have the both parallelly aligned, because if you are developing a great product, you need to have a good marketing strategy for that. If you are able to pitch it, if you are able to sell it, it will absolutely work. So coming back to your question, you asked like if you have a software idea, right?
Yes.
So for example, if I take you have developed a prototype. Let's supposedly you have invented an application based upon NFTs, which are booming these days, right? Web 3.0 is going on. It will be the future, right? So if I talk about you are developing a software in Web 3, so basically you first have to build the community for that, because Web 3 is totally purely based upon the community. So if you are building that community, again back to zero. So how can you build a community? For community, you need actual awareness. And if I talk about awareness is actually driven by the marketing. Or I'm not talking about the marketing, but I'm talking about digitally awareness, right?
Yeah.
So if you are creating that awareness, if you are trying to take people on board as a part of your community, then you can actually put that software in the alignment, or you can say the justification of what you are actually building. And then if you have an idea, you have a validation that people are actually liking your idea, you have the community, now you can actually go to the investors. And I feel IT product is very, if I talk about prototyping, if I talk about hardware product,
Yeah.
IT is quite cheaper
Yeah.
in terms of development, right? In
Yes,
terms of MVP, because you actually don't need a, unless or until it's a very game changer thing, you don't need a hardcore IT team. You don't need to hire an agency for that, right?
Yeah.
You can have couple of friends here and there. You can actually give internships, and there are other models which people are following. So
Yeah.
I feel if you have an idea, the very basic step is to validate your product by actually serving. Like
Okay.
have a survey. How many people wants that idea? Because sometimes we are in the dilemma if I want that idea or if that idea needs to be solved. The problem is there. First identify that before having an idea, before developing an idea. First identify the problem it is solving. If that's valid, if that's solving millions of people's problem, then you are on the right track. Because
Okay.
what I have skipped in my life in the initial phases was I had an idea, I thought it can be the game changer because I felt that this can solve many problems.
Yeah.
But that was not that was not the case in many terms, because people might not need that because things are still going on, right? It
Yeah.
was just an efficient way of doing the similar things. So that I learned a really hard way. Like you have to identify whether people need it or not.
Okay. And according to your observation, like even recently we had Shark Tank India.
Right, right.
And like the initiative of Aatma-Nirbhar Bharat. What are your observation, like where our industry is actually going? Like which is the industry which you think it might boom in the future?
So there are two industries which I purely think will be the future. One is Web3, which involves everything on blockchain, metaverse, NFT, all of this.
Yeah.
This is surely the next big thing that is coming. And again, the industry that actually got a little hyped, which was IoT, artificial intelligence, ML, AI, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't get boomed that way. But
Yeah.
it will be the next big thing again,
Yeah.
which includes electric vehicle also, because it's all related. It's all correlated.
Yeah. And from electric vehicle, like your startup is even in the same field.
Right.
So I would like to ask, when you started it,
Hmm.
like when you started it, what was the first product? Was it your kit itself or the any product like which is actually working on electric?
Okay, so my first product was the electric vehicle itself.
Okay.
So I developed one of those electric vehicles. So that journey was also very roller coaster ride, I might say, because I had an idea, because our CU is very big campus, right?
Yeah.
So usually I also feel this. Most of the problems founders try to solve is actually the problem they actually get, right?
Yeah.
So I was facing the same problem, like traveling here and there in CU. It was quite challenge for me and my friends, college friends, to travel for a long period of time in the scorching heat of June and July, right?
Yeah.
It's totally humid, like 40-45 degrees. So I thought of having anything which is environment friendly first. Second, which can actually we can commute. I
Yeah.
thought of having I thought of having normal bicycles which we can pedal and like kind of ride. But then again, this heat and that doesn't match, right?
Yeah.
So then I came to that skateboard kind of thing, segways and other kind of paths. But I believe it was not meant for the roads we have, right? Because
Yeah.
there are a few potholes and other stuff. So then I came into the conclusion that I have to build it like purely into the version that I have in my mind.
Okay.
So I developed prototypes after prototypes. We had 5 multiple prototypes.
Oh, great.
After that, the final product was about to launch.
Okay.
But then COVID came. But the best thing I did in this startup was I actually validated it by alpha testing. In the beginning, I actually validated it with the survey. I actually asked so many people, so many peers, so many colleagues that will this work or not? Do you
Okay.
actually need it, or is it me who only needs it? Because if it's me, then the problem can be solved easily. But if
Yeah.
the larger base or the larger community needs it, then actually it can be a business or it can be an idea which can turn around. So then that was validated very well with people. Then I started developing. Then I actually, when the prototype I had, I gave them to the students of Chandigarh University.
Okay.
And the result was amazing. People were going crazy. Those were the best days. Like if I have to explain, in 60 days, the amount of joy, the amount of happiness I've seen on the faces of people was mind blowing. And that's the best part I've ever seen in Chandigarh University of my 4 years. So yeah, after that, all the feedbacks that I collected, I went to the different prototypes, and the final stage till alpha and beta testing, it was doing pretty much good. but then COVID and we had to stop.
Like, sir, we also need one prototype.
So it's there in the university.
Yeah, okay. Like,
So in the workshop there are 4. In
Okay.
TBI there are 2. So you can
Oh.
take it.
like obviously we will, like, after this podcast we will going there. So, but like you have approached many entrepreneurship
Right.
ventures.
Right.
So, like, what was your very first pitch? Like, how you gave it? Like, to whom? Like, can you elaborate some?
Okay, you are asking about my first pitch.
Yeah.
So unknowingly, like as I told you that I didn't know what actually pitch was back in class 11th, 12th.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much about entrepreneurship. But what I feel is my first pitch was when I actually pitched my idea at IIT Guwahati.
Oh.
So unknowingly it was the pitch only because I was selling my product some way or the other. I was selling my idea. But yeah, it got streamlined, it got very polished after so many years. But yeah.
So, like, basically your main journey started with the pitch from IIT Guwahati.
Yes.
Okay, so like there are multiple hackathons around us,
Right.
having here and there, and as I said, there is a question in the mind:
Right.
should we go and there or not? And even like there are some private hackathons similar
Right,
to this.
Right.
So, according to you, what type of hackathon actually we should shortlist?
Okay.
Like, on what basis?
So I believe hackathons is a very good exercise to
Yeah.
understand how much problem solving aptitude you have first. Second, how well you can cope up or how well you can team up with the other participants, right? Because entrepreneurship is the game of persistence. Entrepreneurship is the game of team play. Like it's a sport.
Yeah.
It's not something that we are going forward alone. We have to take other people on board. We have to align people who actually follow your vision, who actually believes in you, right?
Yeah.
And then apart from any other thing, you have to be very hard on yourself while working out, because things might not work as you have imagined. We all imagine a scenario which might or might not happen, but
Yeah.
we are still in the dilemma that it might happen, right?
Yes.
That's the best case scenario that we imagine, but the worst case scenario has never been imagined.
Okay, and like there is one like easy question actually.
Right.
Like there is one imagination world and there is one realistic world.
Right.
According to you, what's the difference?
So if I have to explain this, good question actually.
Yeah.
So I see this as a mirror world,
Yeah.
right? So most of you might have seen Doctor Strange
Yeah.
multiverse, right? Mirror world, mirror dimension. I'm very superficialized, or let's say I'm very happy with whatever the CGI has worked. Apart from this, so the realistic world is actually thinking about the best case and the worst case scenarios one at a time, right?
Yeah.
And actually thinking, will this work or not? Taking the risk evaluation. But the imaginary world is all that we build, right?
Yeah.
It might or might not happen, but our mind says it will happen, which
Yes.
gives us another adrenaline rush, right?
Yes.
It's all in our mind, I feel.
Like actually in my imaginary world, I am already an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur.
So it's good because what I have seen is, have you ever read The Power or The Secret, any book?
Like
The Power
I
of
have
Subconscious
actually
Mind.
no, actually I am bit into like investing field, so I
Okay,
am like
okay.
investors book,
Okay.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, those kind of.
That's great. But the law of attraction is an actual, what do we see? It's a thing that actually exists. And I feel what you're doing is you were actually telling yourself that I will.
Okay.
So what the law of attraction or the power of subconscious mind or any other thing teaches us is, when you believe in the existence, you actually follow that.
Yeah.
So if you're telling yourself that you will be a successful entrepreneur, there is no chance that you will not be. So you are more likely to be a successful entrepreneur.
Okay. And like for entrepreneurship, many students think like, let's first take our placement, let's be financial settled first, then we could
Right.
go and
Right.
achieve our
Right.
goals.
Right.
So is that correct?
It might or might not be in your sense, because if I talk about personally myself, so I was very clear since the very first semester that I do not want to take any placements, right?
Okay.
So I was clear throughout. But the people I have in my team are team players, but they started their journey with a job.
Okay.
So it's all right if they want to or they don't want to.
So sir, I am really like motivated by your journey and how you started. But yeah, obviously you might have faced some failures during your journey. So can you tell about something?
Absolutely, my journey has been so many failures and
Yeah.
then a little successful. I will not say most of that successful thing. So I read it somewhere. The Thomas Alva Edison, when tried inventing that bulb, he failed miserably so many times. So he quoted that I have not failed while attempting. I have known the ways the bulb cannot be made. So
Yeah.
it's just the kind of scenario that you think about, or it's a kind of what do we say? It's a kind of thinking aptitude or the mindset that you have. So I must say that failure is just a part of it.
Okay.
So it's a game. I
Yeah.
feel it's a pure game that you are going forward with. Sometimes you will fail, sometimes you will succeed, right? And it's a game of Ludo, right? Or a game of snake ladder, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you will lead to another level, and sometimes the snake will bite. So
Yeah.
you might have to fall back. But the best part about that game is we still again follow that, right?
Yeah.
Unless or until. So in snake and ladder, how can we match success and failures is no matter how many times the snake bites us, right? We again start it.
Yeah.
So that's how entrepreneurship is all about.
Okay.
No matter how hard you fall, you might have to get back, and you have to get back.
Yeah. So after any of your failure, have you felt like demotivated? Let's leave it. Let's go to the normal phase which all other students are doing, like studying and grabbing placement. And all.
So this was never the case. I felt demotivated, miserably demotivated. Like I was not doing anything for a month or so. I was out on my own, not doing anything, just wasting time, maybe watching movies, watching series, which I am not likely to. But yeah, it was not that kind of a scenario where I was thinking or I was telling myself that let's not do it. My case was let's take a break for few days. So
Yeah.
that was my escape towards the demotivation.
Okay, like what kind of series do you prefer? Like even in the entertainment, there is a part where you can learn.
Yes.
So what are the
So
choices?
what exactly has happened with me so far is no matter what kind of movie or series I watch, there is kind of a learning aptitude my mind automatically takes out.
Yeah.
So most amazing series I feel about is which talks about entrepreneurship, business, negotiations. Suits is one of the best series that I've ever watched, and
Yeah.
because the part of negotiation and the overall personality the character plays is it actually fascinates me. Just like this, and if I talk about movies specifically, Iron Man is the most amazing character
Yeah.
of Marvel.
Yeah.
Like the tech, because I feel I am a diehard fan of technology, right? So the kind of technology they have portrayed is next level.
Next level.
Like,
Yeah. Like even I am a patent holder, so whenever I look around me, I am like, this idea can work in that bulb.
right.
That can be an innovation.
Right.
But then the question comes in my mind, like, is it actually required or not?
Actually, right. So sometimes पता है क्या होता है, there is a ego that there is, मतलब हम ना कभी कभी क्या होता है, when we start getting onto the ladders of success,
Yeah.
we actually get egoistic, right? So ego build up होने लगता है, where we actually cannot differentiate whether it's a necessity or an ego asking us to have something.
Yes.
So वहाँ पे अगर हमने चेक कर लिया अपने आप को कि यार ये ईगो है, दिस इज नॉट
Yeah.
एक्चुअली रिक्वायर्ड, तो बहुत चीज़ें आसान हो जाती हैं. I feel.
Yeah, that's true. Like एक इनोवेशन में भी होना चाहिए कि इसका लॉजिक है या नहीं. इनोवेशन तो है बट लॉजिक है कि नहीं.
right. यार पता है क्या है, मतलब मुझे ये लगता है कि बिजनेस के लिए तो सब कोई बैठे है ना. अगर आप इनोवेटर हो, मतलब आपके पास वो कैपेबिलिटीज है प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एप्टीट्यूड की या एग्जिस्टेंस की, कि आप एक्चुअली देख पा रहे हो कि चीज़ें एग्जिस्ट कैसे कर रही हैं, तो व्हाई नॉट टू सर्व अ बिगर पर्पस इन लाइफ, व्हाई नॉट टू
Yeah.
एक्चुअली सर्व द कम्युनिटी.
Yeah, that's
तो
true.
अगर आप कम्युनिटी को सर्व कर रहे हो ना, अगर आप कम्युनिटी को वापस दे रहे हो जो कम्युनिटी ने आपको दिया है, मतलब इट्स बेसिकली व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट कम्युनिटी आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द यूनिवर्स.
Yeah.
इस यूनिवर्स ने ही हमें बनाया है, राइट?
Yes.
अगर हम इस यूनिवर्स में ही पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशंस, पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड से चीज़ें कर रहे हैं, तो वो तो मेंट टू हैपन है ना, मतलब
हाँ.
वही चीज़ है.
लाइक कोई बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हम सॉल्व कर रहे हैं तो दैट इज एक्चुअल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप.
राइट. मतलब अगर तो बिजनेस करना है, प्योर धंधा करना है, तो फिर आप बिजनेसमैन हुए ना, आप एंटरप्रेन्योर थोड़ी हुए.
वो भी है. लाइक तभी तो इनोवेटर का भी टैग सामने ऐड हो जाता है. So thank you, Bhaiya. Honestly, it's really a great conversation, and this is just the episode 2 in which I am able to grab so many insights. So thanks a lot, Bhaiya, for being here and like giving such an insightful podcast for our audience. Thanks a lot, Bhaiya.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all of you.
Thank you,
all
Bhaiya.
the members of IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.